I'm gonna show you a little 10-second clip of Everett, of the ballpark at Everett, Washington. The team is a Seattle Mariners short season A team in the Northwest League, one of the leagues that Major League Baseball wants to eliminate when they cut 42 minor league teams out of the loop. The idea that these 42 cities are going to somehow embrace wooden bat amateur college ball or independent ball is foolhardy. A number of these cities, and I'm looking at you, Stockton. Stockton went bankrupt for the bonds on the ballpark and on the arena. So cities built these ballparks to the standards of minor league baseball. It's not spelled out, but you've got to, you make the assumption, and this is it, you assume and you know better, and Major League Baseball has had an antitrust exemption for over 100 years, so some of these cities, not Stockton so much, but I can see Hillsboro, Oregon, who put city money into building the ballpark, Ron Tompkins Field, and the Hillsboro Hops are in the Northwest League, and they're going to be gone. So it's going to be a lot of unhappy mayors and city councils wanting to know why they got screwed. So anyway, I'm going to show you this clip, and then I'm going to talk about the ballpark, and then I'm going to talk about a guy named Steve Fischer, who, here you go. Now, I've been to this ballpark twice, once with just Mark and I in the DeVille, and then once with the four of us a couple of years ago when I had my foot hurt. Now, I'm thinking I don't have this video a clip. I think I lost it. I'm an idiot. So anyway, the second time we went, we sat down the left field line, and we entered through the back gate down the left field line, and parked kind of sort of in a business's lot that the team had leased parking from the businesses close by the ballpark so people could park. This isn't as bad as it sounds. It's not like in Pittsburgh or in Baltimore where you're parking underneath office buildings and then 40,000 people are trying to get out at once. It's more like Birmingham, Alabama, and to a lesser extent Sacramento, West Sacramento, where the Rivercats play, where the parking is in lots that the team leases. They're maybe a block or two away at the most, and it works fine. So anyway, the first time we went, we sat on the other side, on the first base side, in the big seating you saw. We sat at the very top. And I'm going to teach you all a valuable lesson here. Mark and I are sitting there. There's not too many people there. It's a weeknight game. And down at the other end of the seating, about 2 or 3 rows down, a guy and a gal are sitting there, and a little older than we are. This was a long time ago. And somebody hits a fairly hard pop foul, and the guy stands up to make the catch, and he doesn't have a glove, and he just tries to use his hands, and it never works. If you think you're at the ball game and you're going to catch a foul ball with your bare hands, well, you're in for a very rude awakening. And the ball went right through his hands and hit him on the nose so firmly, you heard the crack everywhere in the ballpark, and he gushed so much blood that the ambulance had to be called out. Now, I saw this again right behind me in Chico, California. The last time Chico had independent ball, and this was the year that Marie and I got back together. I was in Red Bluff for a week, and I think I have film of this, so we'll see. Anyway, she came up for a few days, and we hung out, and we went to the ball game in Chico twice, and somebody lined a foul up kind of behind us and a few feet over. Marie wasn't going to get hit, but the guy put his hands out in front of his wife to catch the ball, and it never works, and the ball sculled her on the cheek, and it swelled up like a balloon, and they eventually had to leave. So it never works like that. So that's why you don't put your hands up to try to catch a foul ball unless you got a glove. Personally, I'm ducking. Anyway, I'm going to talk about Steve Fischer here. Steve Fischer is a guy who pitched for UOP when I started going to the UOP games. Now, we moved to Stockton in 1993, so in 1994 season, we started going to the Ports games. And it was only a couple years later that I wised up and thought, I was jonesing for baseball badly, and it was February, and I thought, hell, let's just go to the college. I'm not as thrilled with the college because I use metal bats, but it's still baseball enough. So I remember the first time I went to the ball game, there's nobody there. So anyway, I'm going to show 20 seconds of Steve, 10 seconds of him and San Bernardino starting, and then 10 seconds of myself and the plaintiff and the turncoat posing with Steve in Modesto on the field on a Sunday. It was some meet the player, run around the bases, something or other. And Steve remembered me, so he was gracious enough to pose. So I'm going to put this in, and then I'm going to talk about Steve. Now, I only saw Steve pitch his senior year at UOP, and in major college baseball, in league, and the Tigers were in the Big West, which also had Fullerton and Long Beach, which are national college baseball powers, and they also had UC Santa Barbara. I want to say UC Riverside, but I honest to God can't remember, and other schools of this nature. They have since moved to, I think, the WAC, which is the Christian colleges like Gonzaga, USF, Santa Clara University, and the University of San Diego, not San Diego State, USD, and there's a difference. So schools like that are now who UOP plays. Anyway, Steve was the Sunday pitcher. Now, in league, it's a 3-game series, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Your number one pitcher goes on Friday. Now, the year before I started going to the games, the number one pitcher for UOP and the number one pitcher in the country, I'm almost sure he was the number one pick of the draft, was a guy named Steve Reichert. Now, he didn't exactly pan out in the majors. I'm not sure what happened, but anyway, Steve was the number 3 pitcher, the Sunday pitcher. And there's no shame in that. Look, if you're in the A's rotation and you're the number 4 or number 5 guy, you're still in a starting rotation in the major leagues, and you're going to get pretty close to as many starts as the number 1 pitcher is. So anyway, Steve is the Sunday pitcher. I went to more Sunday games than anything else because of my work schedule. I got off at 4 o'clock in the morning. I went home. I went to bed. I got up and watched the 1 o'clock game. I got home by 4:30, and I didn't have to be at work until 10:30 or 11 that night. So I got enough sleep, and then I went to work. And so I've seen Steve pitch. Steve is from Benicia, and at the time, the gal that Mark was seeing was from Benicia, and her kids were going to Benicia High, the same high school that Steve went to. Anyway, we saw him pitch in this trip in Vancouver, BC, and I retract that. We were in Vancouver at Nat Bailey Stadium when Steve walked out pregame with the team to go down to the bullpen, and of course I jump up and scream, "Woohoo, Tigers," and nonsense like that. And he looks, and it's like you could see he's thinking, who the hell is this, cheering me on? So he didn't get into pitch that night, but a few games later, it was Vancouver at Everett. And they did bring him into pitch. So as he's walking out of the bullpen down to the mound, I'm screaming, woohoo, go Tigers and stuff. And he looks and he turns and looks right at me. Well, the game ends, and Mark and I are starting to pack our stuff up. And at this level ball, there's really not a dugouts, where you go to the bathroom or you shower. Your shower bathroom facilities are not accessible by the field. You have to walk off the field, and there's usually a gate, and you walk out the gate. Well, Steve comes out of the bullpen with his jacket and glove, and he looks up at us and says, "Hey, come here." So we walk down to him, and he says, "Who are you, and how do you know me?" And I said, "Steve, you don't know me, but I live in Stockton, and I watched you pitch last year, so I'm rooting for you personally because I've seen you pitch for UOP." And that was like, well, hell, okay. So we posed for pictures with him, and sadly it was film pictures, and the pictures got lost. Anyway, so the next year, I don't know why Steve isn't in spring training yet, and it's early in the college year, which starts either at the time about the middle of January, so maybe spring training hadn't started yet. Well, I'm at the Tiger game, and he's sitting in the stands. So he came over and talked, and he said, he was going to be probably going to Modesto, and then the 2A team in the Texas League is at, I can't think of the name of the town, the Rockhounds. It'll come to me. Anyway, so what happened to Steve is that he got moved up to 2A, bounced back and forth between 1A and 2A, Modesto, and the place in Texas that's escaping me. He got hurt, he took the buyout, and he was out of the professional game. But he's a very nice guy, and actually at the San Bernardino game, he started, he didn't, after 5 innings, the A's at the time were taking their starters out. So he showered and then came and sat behind me in the stands, and we talked a little bit because he heard me scream his name and go Tigers and blah, blah, blah. So that's my Everett, Steve Fischer story. I think I remembered everything. Again, thank you for watching Storytime with Joe.